ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. Respected Minister Shri Ashwath Narayan ji, Vice President and a very senior member of BJP Karnataka, Surana ji, Economic Cell Chief who's done extensive lot of work, am I right? Samir ji, members of the Bharatiya Janata Party Karnataka unit, media, and a special reference to all the women, mothers, sisters, daughters, who've come here today to listen to a little interaction session where I'll give a brief opening set of remarks. Because we're talking on Atmanirbharta. There's so much to say. And there's so much which has happened in the last 2 years, as you rightly pointed out. But so much that could happen in the last 2 years has been enabled because of some kind of an intense delivery-driven work which happened between 2014 and 19. That is the USP of the Prime Minister. Even as a Chief Minister in Gujarat, how did he make the state stand out against every other state which was trying? I'm not saying one is more, one is less, but the distinction with which things happened in Gujarat, which made all of us sit up and watch, if you ask me, were two things. One, announce very well thought out schemes, but make sure it is actually delivered in the ground. Execution of scheme. Execution till the last mile. I wanted 8 crore women to get gas cylinder. That was in the Prime Minister's days. As a Prime Minister, he announced that. And it was ensured that those 8 crore people got it. And this is not just for us to claim. There were so many different people, independent people, and also some from the media, who went checking up actually did 8 crore people get. And nobody could say, sorry, it's a bogus claim. That's the one example. And that was what was the character and feature of his chief ministership in Gujarat, which made all of us sit and watch, saying what is making the difference there. The other, there are several, but only 2 distinct features which make me recall it and which is relevant for us even today, is that last mile delivery is one. Second, absolutely being corruption free. The country was fed up. The country was fed up at the high level corruption which was happening. And if at that level, the high level corruption, big ticket corruption is happening, who's going to be able to remove it from ordinary man's daily life? So in Gujarat, you got 24/7 electricity. You didn't have to go pay any bribe at the electricity office. You could set up business without giving any bribe. You could progress with your activity without anyone coming and creating a nuisance for you. All these were being told. And many people again went to study. Even today, when with the sense of, like they say in our stories, grapes are sour, the fox's story, we all say, you are not able to achieve it, then you will say, no, that is sour grapes, I don't need it. People tried checking up if these are happening actually. And no one could say anything. And that is why even today when they say, this is Gujarat model, that was the Gujarat model that all of us knew of, and it continues. And it continues in today's India, where the Prime Minister leads us with the same spirit. No corruption in 8 years. Did anyone, however much they tried, find even a whisper of corruption anywhere? No. And similarly, the last mile delivery. हर घर जल, अभी जो हम बोल रहे हैं, we are talking about piped water to every house. Having announced it, already 5 crore houses have already got it. The target was 8 crore. And for the rest 3 crores, 3.8 crores, I think, left out, I announced it in the budget also, we made a provision of 60,000 crores. That will be completed this year. So the last mile delivery, which is one of the USPs of the Prime Minister, you can take each one of the schemes announced between 14 and 19 and see those having been executed, it's already laid on the ground. Nobody knew there was going to be a pandemic. But you laid all this because you wanted a better new India, which doesn't talk of corruption, which gets electricity if they want it, and everybody in a street, starting from first house number 1 to house number 30, 35, whatever it is, if they are eligible for it, they should get it. Not that kind of somebody gets the first charge on our treasury because they are X, they are Y. We didn't differentiate between X and Y. We said, you are eligible, you get it. You are eligible, you get it. So on, that entire street got it. So the neighbor knew that if he was eligible, if she was eligible, she would get it. She will not be denied because she doesn't give you your vote, because she doesn't belong to a group of people. And it is only that group of people which interests me. The rest, be damned with it. Our politics is not that. So every house got electricity, every house got gas, every house had power-saving bulbs being given to them, and every house is getting drinking water as well. So that approach of not differentiating when it comes to developmental parameters was followed without question in each of the schemes, which was between 14 and 19. I'm purposely going back to that because that was the framework which was laid between 14 and 19. And I said, nobody anticipated a pandemic, but having laid it all like this, you were able to deliver even during a pandemic. Everybody had cylinders. Everybody had a cooking medium. Everyone's house had electricity. Everyone had a bank account. So during the pandemic, when you gave money, it reached everybody. We didn't differentiate between my voter who's not this and their voter who's that, but we gave everyone. And as a result, in the pandemic, when developed countries also didn't know how to reach relief, that check which would have given them some money for relief during that time of lockdown, many advanced economies made the checks out but didn't know how to reach them because there weren't enough people who can go deliver it at that time. Everybody was seated at home. Whereas with just a press of a button, Prime Minister ensured within 2 days after the lockdown was announced, relief money goes into the deposit of people, elderly women, senior citizens, Divyang, everybody got the money. And ration shops were very clearly told, you will give free rice as much as they are entitled to get 5 kg. Yes, another 5 kg, totally free. And that continues now over 2 years. End of 31st March this year, that continues. No person remained hungry during the lockdown. No, so when you made all these systems so that India will fundamentally be ready to do better growth, give opportunities for everybody, it also helps during an emergency situation like the pandemic. Now, if this is the philosophy, that is why when we repeatedly say Sabka Saath, people try to make mockery saying, oh, what is this Sabka Saath and all. It is Sabka Saath. That is why we were able to reach out to everybody during the pandemic. So Sabka Saath, what for? Sabka Vikas. So everybody goes growing along with one another, so nobody is left behind. And that philosophy also helps in reaching out to all states. There's no difference. It's not a BJP ruled state, so we will do everything with them in order to make them suffer. No. Clearly, every state has been given its due. What is eligible, what is required to be given to them, when it has got to be given, it has been given. And that is why, just as a sample which I do in every visit of mine to every state, in the regional language, so in Kannada today, I have given a complete list of all that has been given by the center to the state in terms of devolution, tax money which has to be devolved, scheme-based monies which has to reach, and any specific state program which had to be given money, everything is listed out. I'm sure the media will be given, and all our Karyakarta, I'm told, will also get the same thing through your WhatsApp groups and everything else. The reason why I'm doing this is we are absolutely transparent in the way in which we handle finances. During the pandemic, we ensured that everything that we do will reach the state and reach the states in time so that they can ensure whether it is PPE kits, whether it's vaccination, whether it's hospital facility, everything has to be done during that time. Now, in all this, why am I giving you this background when I'm expected to talk on Atmanirbhar? During the pandemic, the Atmanirbhar principle was followed 100%. How did we do it? We didn't have capacity to produce the PPE kits, masks, nothing. So what Atmanirbharta are you talking about? That's the philosophy I want to explain in the context of the pandemic. We didn't have the PPE kit manufacturing capability. But that didn't make me think that, oh, we are following Atmanirbhar, so we can't import. We rushed imports in on the kits, on the masks, on all the equipments that you'll need immediately in the hospital, just so the immediate crisis is addressed. But even as we did that, we spoke to all those people who had the capacity to be able to produce all this, beginning with DRDO, which made very quickly the equipments required for the hospital, oxygen, the concentrators that they needed, everything which were not readily available, but we made simultaneous effort to bring all those people who can do this. That within a matter of 6 months or less than 6 months, we were producing 5 lakh or over PPE kits in this country. What is that approach then? That which you don't have, that which you so require, will be imported. We shall not hesitate on that. But that which can be produced by us, we will focus on producing and increasing the capacity so that after a point we stop the import and we produce our necessities ourselves, by which we get the necessity itself, the product, and create employment in this country so that our people's jobs are ensured and we don't depend on somebody else for a product otherwise which we can manufacture. That spirit governs us even today, and even more today, and that is why I will take the example of what happened in this budget and the previous budget. Everyone said, oh my God, you've reduced duty here, but you increased duty somewhere else. Customs duty have been made, have been brought or even increased, leading to some of the imported material being more costly nowadays. Careful application of mind has happened. If it is a product which is being produced in India, I have raised the duty, no doubt. And if it's become expensive for those importers, I'm sorry, you'll have to buy an Indian equivalent rather than import it. If it is available in India, buy it in India. So that's the reason behind increasing some of the custom duties. But we have not done it for every import. There are even today, yesterday, Dr. Ashwath Narayan was with me when some of the startups were telling us, particularly those in semiconductors and areas like that, saying there are some components which we still don't manufacture in India, but they are critical for us. I did answer them there. We have not increased those duties which are applicable for those intermediate goods or raw products which are required for some of the items which are being manufactured in India, or for instance like the semiconductors who require some of these products to come in and it cannot be made in expensive because we are talking of Atmanirbhar. So this Atmanirbhar philosophy and as a guiding principle is not so blindly applied that we'll hit ourselves. It is very carefully each time enough application of mind happens so that we don't make it expensive for those goods which are even now so required for manufacturing in India. But gradually we'll make sure that if it is produced in India, it shall not be imported. So this principle guides whether it is in my custom duty related decision making or even in the PLI, the productivity linked incentive scheme, wherein 14 sectors have been chosen as champion sectors, for which huge allocation of money is being made so that every incremental unit which is being produced by them will get financial assistance. What are the 14 sectors that you've chosen? How did you choose them? Why did you choose them? We chose them because India should become Atmanirbhar in many of these things which we can produce, which we shouldn't be importing. And at a time when we were talking about China plus, we needed to provide enough ground for people to come out of China and invest in India. And if investing in India requires a very carefully thoughtful way in which we can plan it up, the PLI stands out as a good example of those areas in which India has an advantage in terms of the skills available. India has a big market where otherwise we were importing all these electronic goods. Our real purchasing capacity is substantial enough today that we want to buy many of these goods even if they are imported. So we, by the PLI scheme, we have made sure that such things which have a market in India, which have a demand in India, are produced in India, are scaled up in India, so that you manufacture sufficiently to serve the Indian market, and any surplus that is can be exported from India. So the selection of the 14 PLI champion sectors, many of which are sunrise sectors, newer things, which in India we never did earlier, was decided on these three factors: that it should be scalable, that it should be finding a market within India and also outside, so you export from here, manufacture in India but export to outside, and third, that it gives an advantage in terms of the number of jobs that you can create here. So three main thumb rules: you scale up, become big, you manufacture for India and sell from India, export from India. Third, you give us the jobs. And these are not back again those sectors which have lived in India, produced and reached good success. We are not funding all over again to them. We are bringing in newer areas. And these are the areas in which future lies, the sunrise sectors, that is why. So Atmanirbharta is so much now the guiding principle, because many of the advantages that India had earlier have all been lost out because of the predatory pricing of people who were selling from abroad. I'll take one example. The active pharmaceutical ingredients, APIs, which are very critical for manufacturing bulk drugs. For anything, antibiotics onwards to any life-saving drug, you need the active pharmaceutical ingredient, which is very intense production, depends a lot on fermentation and many more, requires a lot of power, requires that kind of intense working, and also you should have the formulation capacity in your hand. India was a leader in production of API a couple of decades ago. We were a leader, and that's why we could produce many bulk drugs even then. But gradually, predatory pricing chipped into our market, chipped into our production capability. People thought anymore that producing APIs in India will be cost competitive. It won't be cost competitive because you're getting imported mal for less. So gradually, that capacity that India had for API was taken away from India, and we lost it because we thought we can't be more efficient, we can't cut down on our costs, and therefore it was easy to import and we let it go. But India is a successive bulk drug manufacturer. And all our bulk drugs go, nearly 60% of the world requirements on very many medicines, each one item-wise. India supplies. Vaccination. Today, COVID-19 has a vaccine. But there are very many other illnesses for which you need vaccines. Every child is given better immunization vaccine within 6 months of their birth. All these vaccines are produced in India, and even in that, I think about 66% of the world's requirement of vaccines are made in India. And if we have that capacity for vaccines, if we have that capacity for bulk drugs, what an irony that we don't have the API with us anymore. That was key, critical. So by giving the PLI for pharmaceutical sector, we want to encourage more people to produce and make India Atmanirbhar in pharmaceutical bulk drug manufacturing. How will you be Atmanirbhar if you're producing so much of bulk drugs, but your key component comes from somewhere else? They can just shut the tap off and say, sorry, we won't give it to you. Or they can shut the tap off unless you agree to pay 10 times more the price you're paying now. Is that helpful? And why should we be left to the mercy of somebody else like this? At least for those things which are so critical, even for us. So, the Atmanirbhar principle repeatedly is invoked to see where we have critical advantage, and in those areas, are we completely self-reliant or not? There can be some areas where you really don't have the capability, you'll still have to depend on import. That's a different story altogether. So to make Indian economy be able to stand on its own feet, to build on its own strengths, and be able to be a global supplier. We don't want to say, no, we are producing, we are consuming, that's the end of the story. We also want to supply to the world. That is what happened in the vaccine. I think it was Mr. Surana when he spoke, and also Dr. Ashwatha Narayanan, for a country which earlier waited for nearly 6 years to get the polio vaccine which was developed somewhere else. We had to wait to get that vaccine into this country, 6 years it took for us. Today, even during the pandemic, there are 2 vaccines, now there are more. In January 2021, when we started on 16th January this vaccination for the country, first you give the doctors, nurses, then you give the frontline workers, then you go for 60 and above, then you go comorbidity people. We went in stages. When we started in January 16th, we had only 2 vaccines in this country. One was a patent which you took from somebody and started producing, which is good enough, you're producing very well. But the other was entirely formulated, conceived, manufactured totally in India. Totally. The patent is with you, it is your product. And to get an international license, the kind of time, approvals from FDA, approvals from somewhere else, took its own time, and they are not newbies in this business. It's a company which is already was producing rotavirus, a whole lot of other virus injections and so on, but still, within that period, they were, during that time when their own staff are also staying from home and working from home, they managed to get us the vaccine. So we have that capability, we need to build on it, we need to fund it better, we need to manage it better. These are the ways in which an Atmanirbhar country can identify its strengths. Like for instance, a crisis in Ukraine, a lot of problems. We have a lot of challenges, no doubt. But we see an opportunity as well. Indian farmers have produced enough wheat that where today, because of the war, wheat is not available, we are able to move into supply. These are the ways in which Atmanirbhar will have to be looked at with a global perspective, not to say, I want it only for myself, sorry, I don't care about the world. So our Atmanirbharta is not only for you and our entire country, but it's also to be able to produce things because we have the capability and capacity. We have the supportive government. We have policies which are made in such a way that we can do it. And as a result of it, we are ready to serve the globe. The CoWIN app, Dr. Ashwath Narayanan can tell us. India probably was the only country which had an app-based system to register the applicant who needs the dose. And in fact, sometimes even for tracking COVID, an app was used. So if you had COVID only last 10 days ago, you won't be given a vaccine immediately because your body would have developed antibodies. All this was available in the app. And your first dose was given. You had a choice on which one you want between the two. And once the dose was done, you had a certificate given, which was available in your mobile, or you can print it out. And then when you had the second dose, time come, you were alerted, you can go for a second dose. Everything happened thanks to the app, in the app. So when our youngsters started traveling globally, they showed on the phone at the country border terminals. There were several of them who were surprised because they were still giving handwritten certificates saying, yeah, you've been given a vaccine dose. India came up saying, no, I have it on my phone, watch it. It'll tell you the date, it'll tell you the formulation, whose vaccine I took. And that app, Prime Minister readily said, it shall be a property of the entire world. We want humanity to benefit from it because this is a time of stress and worry. We want scientifically people to benefit from taking doses of vaccine. You can use this app as well. He didn't say, oh, I have it, that is it. It was made available for the entire, Committee of Nations. Whoever wants it, please use it. So India has that capacity. We use it, we show it to the world, demonstrate to the world that we are a responsible power. And this is now, you can take it for many different things that we are doing. Equally as much as worrying about welfare of our people. The ways in which we have created, and I'm jumping from one extreme to another, pardon me, because I have a limitation of time, I'll finish with this. Every technology is being used to make life better for everyone, safer for women. Today I come back to that theme. There is a tracker, which is a technology-driven tracker, in which sexual offenders are registered, meaning they don't register, through the police the information comes and it goes into the app. Repeat offenders are seen there. Nationally, you will know who's this guy, where is he? To make the life of women safer, technology is being used. And to work together with it, laws have been amended. Anyone who does a heinous act of raping a girl who's less than 12 shall be given life, meaning he'll be put to death. That's an amendment we've made. And anyone who does, say for a 16-year-old or below, was given 10 years imprisonment. Now that's been, after Prime Minister Modi took over after 2014, we amended the law to say 16 and below years girl raped, then you will not just be in the jail for 10 years. We enhanced it to 20 years. You have no business to come out of the jail for 20 years. You will be in the jail. These are possible because now you know through data application where crime is conducted, crime is recorded, you will know who these offenders are and therefore will be able to show to the courts authoritatively that these are the people who need to be given life or put to the gallows. So technology to protect women, technology for bringing in better application of farm equipment use, soil health monitoring, spraying of fertilizers. You clearly use technology for every one of them. That's why we have recognized drone as a service. And for that, we are training young people and making sure that young people will be able to handle a drone for the particular job, because size of the drone, the weight that it can carry are all different and they have to have different skills for using them. This budget therefore gives a lot of emphasis on technology and making sure that it will be building the way for us for Atmanirbharta. I speedily just mentioned, I'm sure all of you will know it, technology in banking. So we'll have digital banks, 75 digital banks. They're going to be called DBUs, digital banking units. 75 of them in 75 districts they can arise, but being digital, they can locate themselves anywhere but serve that many number of districts. Digitally driven, central bank driven currency. So a digital currency. A digital bank, a digital currency. In digital payment, India has already made remarkable progress. We shall build on that. Digital university. Till now, all of us know of the long-distance education. Each state has its own long-distance education universities. They continue. But there shall be a digital university which, wherever the student will be able to give them the best of education with the best of digitally tailor-made curriculum. E-passports, a chip-embedded passport. So whether you're in Ukraine during a war-like situation or anywhere else, your passport will have every data digitally. So to deal with you, to help you, to facilitate you, you're better off. And therefore, very many such digital, as I said, digital university, I did say, now digital ways in which the India stack is getting built up. We shall be taking that as a brand for India, brand it and then be able to use many other countries, benefit from that digital revolution that India is going through. So I won't take more of my time. I think I've exceeded the time given to me. I'm quite open to questions. But I want to, on this day, underline the fact that in this entire story, and being March 8th, the role of women between 2014 and today have enough number of data to say we are not just talking Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. It's showing results. We used to have a national average of 960, 970 women for every 1,000 men. Today, it is 1,026 to every 1,000 men. The ratio has shown drastic difference. There were 104 sensitive, gender-sensitive districts. On that, between 2014 and today, effort was made. You are able to see that a lot of difference has come in the sex ratio. Similarly, making sure that in education, girls get priority, girls come in STEM sciences, girls come in the university. Today, the gap between boys getting registered, enrolled, and girls coming in has narrowed down. We have 49% girls coming into universities, 51 is male. Earlier, it was quite a wide gap. That difference is happening now. Women have been enrolled into the armed forces. Police, military police have women. Sainik schools have been given equal admission for both boys and girls. The National Defense Academy, which recruits and trains cadets, today can admit girls. Women can be in combat uniform in the army, in the navy, in the coast guard, in the air force. We have a Rafale being flown by a woman. Women's work participation, everybody asks us these questions nowadays. Oh, no, the participation of women has come down. No, the latest data coming from the Labour Ministry shows there's definitely a back again improvement. Yes, it had come down during the pandemic. It's now improved. It's improving also to bring in more women. We've changed the code on occupational safety so that women can come and participate in work better. Maternity leave, which was being given to women, we had given earlier, it was only 20 weeks. No, sorry, earlier it was only 12 weeks. It is now 26 weeks. So women can be recruited for 26 weeks, maternity leave is being provided, and then they can get back to their jobs. So Atmanirbharta cannot happen if 50% of our population is not given equal treatment. And that is why every change that has happened has gone in such a way that women are not being left behind, they shall equally participate. One last statistic which I like to share. In 2014, we know Panchayatri, the 73rd amendment to the Constitution, 73rd, 74th amendment, and more women came into Panchayats. So we've been repeatedly reminded by the opposition saying it's not to your credit. But 2014, we had only 36% participation of women in spite of all the reservation. But since 14, there has been consistent attempt by BJP ruled states where, you know, again, I go back to the example of Prime Minister Modi, 50% reservation he made in many of the panchayats in Gujarat. Many states followed that afterwards. In fact, he even went to the extent of saying if you elect all women panchs, meaning all your members, and then among the panchs you elect one as a sarpanch. If all members, the panchs, are elected as women, with common consensus evolved, no competition, nothing, no fighting, no election. You choose in your panchayat, you choose only women, all women as members, and from them one person becomes sarpanch. I give you additional fund for that panchayat. Was announced by Prime Minister Modi when he was Chief Minister, and so gradually you saw the numbers go up. But after 14, when in 14 you had only 36% participation, in spite of the act, 33% reservation, in spite of all the push and pulls, 36% in 14. It's gone to 46% now. Between 14 and now, what does that speak for? So women are being given greater and greater opportunities. It is showing in so many ways. Indicators are all telling us that. So on Women's Day, both to our brothers and sisters, fathers, mothers, and to all our Karyakarta, I being one. BJP is one party where I think I've said this before, women are given a safe and comfortable place to do their political work. I came into the party because in 2008 we made a resolution that in party's positions from village to national executive, office bearers will be given 33% reservation and women will be brought in. I came in because of that. The party gives us the opportunity, and I don't think there's any better political dispensation in this country than BJP for women, women's participation, women's leadership. At one point in time, I could have named about 3 or 4 of them as governors and chief ministers, women, all BJP. So it is a party where women are absolutely supported and kept to feel that they are wanted, their services required, and also given right opportunity at the right time. We should not lose heart. We shouldn't think that, oh no, my party has ignored me. Not at all. All of us will get equal opportunity. It's a very big house. विशाल है बीजेपी. हम सबका मौका मिलेगा, ज़रूर मिलेगा, और हमारे वैल्यू पार्टी में है. इसीलिए thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to talk.